Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. You know, we've been poring over these excerpts from Stephen King's Holly, and it feels like we're uncovering a pretty big mystery.
Oh, yeah, definitely a mystery. And one that seems to stretch back years, with Holly Gibney right at the center of it.
Yeah, and what's really intriguing to me is this pattern of disappearances that all seem to circle back to this seemingly normal older couple.
Yeah, that's what always gets me with King, Yeah. He takes this idea that we're all familiar with, like, a missing persons case.
Right.
And he just twists it somehow. He weaves in this underlying sense of dread that makes you realize there's something way darker going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see that right away with Bonnie Doll's disappearance.
Absolutely.
Her bike's abandoned. There's this strange note. The helmet's missing.
Right.
And there's a single gold triangle earring just lying there at the scene.
It's like King is giving us these subtle little clues that something is off.
Yeah.
And Holly, she picks up on them right away. Even when you have these initial suspects who seem totally normal at first, like the guy from the bowling alley or that friendly stoner guy, Holly's intuition is telling her something's not right.
And then she starts digging deeper. She uncovers these past disappearances. Ellen Kraslow, Jorge Castro.
Right, all vanishing near either Deerfield Park or Bill College.
Exactly. It's almost like these cold cases are bubbling back up to the surface. And for Holly, who's always carried the weight of these unsolved mysteries, it must feel like a ghost from her past is coming back to haunt her.
Especially with Ellen's case,
Yeah.
If you remember, she was shunned by her family for being gay.
Right.
And King often explores that theme, you know, the vulnerability of those who are marginalized.
That's true.
And Ellen's story just adds this whole other layer of tragedy to the mystery.
Yeah, her story really hits home. And I wonder if that connection she feels to those past cases is part of what makes this new one feel so unsettling for her. Especially now that we're introduced to this elderly couple, Roddy and Emily Harris.
It is interesting how King presents them. On the surface, they're this seemingly ordinary couple. They're active in their community. They're well respected. But there's this strange feeling surrounding them.
Yeah.
Particularly with Roddy. He seems to be struggling a bit mentally.
Yeah, like those memory lapses.
Yes.
The way he mixes up his words, it all feels a little off.
Definitely.
And as the story goes on, their lives start to intertwine with these missing persons in some really unsettling ways.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Roddy knew Carrie, that stoner who disappeared from the bowling alley.
Right.
Emily actually met Bonnie at a Christmas party. Remember? She was dressed up as an elf.
Yeah. And don't forget that both of the Harrises were at that meeting where Jorge...
Right. Another missing person.
...made that impassioned speech about saving the college's poetry workshop.
It makes you wonder if these are just coincidences.
Right.
Or if there's something more intentional going on.
Yeah, like they're almost weaving themselves into the lives of these people who end up vanishing.
Okay, now that's a chilling thought. So how does the investigation start to focus on the Harrises? Is it Holly's intuition, or are there actual clues that point in their direction?
Well, it's a little bit of both. Remember Barbara Robinson, the young poet that Emily Harris was mentoring?
Oh, right.
Well, she sees pictures of Carrie and Roddy, and she recognizes both of them.
Oh.
She's the first one to connect those dots. And then you have Penny Doll Bonnie's mother.
Right.
She reports Holly missing when Holly doesn't show up for their meeting.
Oh, no.
And guess what Penny's last known location for Holly was?
The Harris's house.
The Harris's house.
Oh, wow. So the story's really starting to converge on them. And with Holly missing, the tension is definitely building. What happens when Barbara goes to their house?
Well, she goes there thinking maybe Holly's just caught up with the case,
Yeah.
But what she finds is absolutely terrifying.
Ah.
She discovers Holly being held captive in the basement.
Oh, no. Trapped in the basement with the Harrises. This is not good.
And it gets even more terrifying when we find out the truth about the Harrises.
What's that?
They're not just holding her captive. They're cannibals.
Oh, cannibals.
Cannibals.
That's horrifying. What could possibly drive them to do something like that?
King, he's a master at weaving in social commentary with his horror.
Yeah.
The Harrises believe that by consuming human flesh, especially brains, they can actually prevent aging and disease.
It's a twisted logic. But it
Right.
speaks to this very human fear.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fear of growing old and dying.
Absolutely.
It's like they took that fear and pushed it to this terrifying extreme,
Yeah.
convincing themselves that this is the only way to cheat death.
Right.
What kind of evidence comes to light?
Uh-huh.
What actually confirms their horrifying secret?
Well, the police uncover human remains in various stages of preparation at their house.
Oh,
A
God.
truly gruesome discovery.
Yeah.
There's even mention of a suspicious roast. It's that stark contrast between their outwardly respectable lives
Right.
and the monstrous secret that they're hiding. That makes it even more terrifying.
You know, it's unsettling to think about.
Yeah.
We think we can judge someone based on how they present themselves. But then you discover this hidden darkness,
Right.
this complete disregard for human life.
Yeah. It really makes you question your own perceptions.
It does. It's like a reminder that evil can wear many masks,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not always easy to recognize.
Right. King forces us to confront that really unsettling reality.
He does. But back to Holly. I can't even imagine the strength it must have taken to survive in that situation.
Right.
Trapped in a cage, injured from a gunshot wound,
Yeah.
with those two as her captors.
It's almost unimaginable.
It's truly a testament to her resilience.
Mm.
You know, even when she's facing this unimaginable horror, she never gives up.
She doesn't.
So can you tell me more about her escape?
Mm-hmm.
How does she manage to turn the tables on the Harrises?
Well, it's this brilliant moment in the story. Okay, so despite her injuries and her desperate situation, Holly uses her intelligence and this moment of opportunity to fight back.
Yeah.
She actually manages to kill both of the Harrises
Wow.
while she's still trapped inside that cage.
That's incredible. She must have been terrified.
Oh, absolutely.
But she found this inner strength, this resourcefulness to overcome those odds.
Yeah. It speaks volumes about her character.
It really does. It shows her mental fortitude,
Yes.
her ability to think strategically, even in the most extreme circumstances.
Uh-huh. And remember this. She uses a shard from her gold earring.
The one from Bonnie's disappearance.
Exactly. The one found at the scene to cut Emily Harris's throat.
Wow.
It's a small detail, but it connects back to the very beginning of the mystery.
Yeah.
And it highlights Holly's incredible resourcefulness.
It sounds like her escape is a turning point in the story.
It is.
But what about the aftermath? What happens once the authorities arrive and the truth about the Harrises is out in the open?
Well, the investigation is intense, of course. The families of the victims are left to grapple with this horrifying revelation.
Right.
And the weight of the case is just heavy on everyone involved.
I bet.
It's a reminder that even when justice is served, there are still scars that remain.
And for Holly,
Yeah.
I mean, not only did she have to endure this terrifying ordeal,
Mm-hmm.
but she also took 2 lives.
Right.
Even if it was self-defense. That has to have a deep emotional impact.
Absolutely. The trauma of her captivity.
Yeah.
The psychological burden of taking a life.
Mhm.
It's a lot to process.
It is. And there's always that lingering question.
Yeah.
How many other victims might there be?
Right. The full extent of the Harris's crimes might never be fully known.
It's a haunting thought.
Hmm.
You know, we often associate danger with the obvious.
Mm-hmm.
The dark alley, the stranger lurking in the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
But this case highlights a different kind of danger.
Right.
The kind that hides in plain sight,
Yeah.
disguised by normalcy and respectability.
That's a great point. It's a chilling reminder that we can never truly know what lies beneath the surface.
Right.
The Harrises operated undetected for years, blending into their community while carrying out these horrific acts. It's a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving
Yeah.
and that evil can exist anywhere.
Makes you wonder, how can we protect ourselves from something like this? From people who seem normal, but are harboring such darkness?
Well, there's no easy answer to that question,
Right.
but I think stories like this encourage us to be more aware, to trust our instincts, and to question our assumptions.
I agree. It's a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous predators are the ones who appear harmless.
Exactly.
I'm also struck by how this case exposes the vulnerabilities of those who are marginalized, like Ellen Kraslow, who was shunned by her family,
Yeah.
or Bonnie Dahl, who may have been struggling with her own personal demons.
Right. It makes you wonder if their social isolation made them easier targets for the Harrises.
Yeah, it does. It adds another layer of social commentary to the horror.
Absolutely.
It forces us to think about how societal biases can contribute to making certain individuals more susceptible to harm.
Such a good point.
It is a sobering thought. But amidst all this darkness,
Yeah.
there's also this glimmer of hope.
There is.
Holly's survival, her escape the fact that the Harrises were ultimately brought to justice.
Uh-huh.
It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit.
It is.
And the power of fighting for what's right.
Absolutely. And it's not just Holly. Think about Barbara Robinson.
Right.
That young poet who helped connect the dots.
Uh-huh.
And ultimately played a role in Holly's rescue.
Oh, yeah.
She may not have Holly's investigative skills.
Right.
But her courage and determination were crucial in uncovering the truth.
It's a powerful message. It shows that we all have a role to play in protecting ourselves and others from harm.
We do.
Speaking of paying attention, trusting our instincts.
Uh-huh.
These things can be crucial in preventing tragedies like this from happening.
They can... It all circles back to that unsettling feeling Holly had from the start.
Yeah.
That intuition that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
We often dismiss those feelings.
We do.
But sometimes they can be the most powerful tool we have.
I agree. We need to learn to trust our gut.
Mm.
Be more aware of those subtle signs that something might be amiss.
Absolutely. But beyond vigilance, I think there's also a need for greater compassion and understanding.
Uh-huh. You know, this case exposes the vulnerabilities of those who are marginalized.
It does, like Ellen Kraslow or Bonnie Dahl.
Right.
It's a call for empathy, a reminder to treat each other with respect and kindness.
Yeah.
Regardless of our differences.
I like that.
We need to create a society where everyone feels safe and supported, where those who are vulnerable aren't left to fend for themselves.
Beautifully put. That makes me think about how this case, as disturbing as it is, ultimately reinforces the importance of human connection.
Right.
And the need to stand up for what's right. It shows the power of community, the strength we find in one another, and the courage it takes to face the darkness and emerge from it, not unscathed, but stronger.
So well said. And I think Holly embodies that strength perfectly.
Yeah.
She's faced so much in her life, trauma, adversity, and now this horrific experience. Yet she continues to fight, not just for herself, but for others. She's a true inspiration.
She is an exceptional character.
She is.
And this deep dive into her world has been both fascinating and unsettling.
It has.
It's raised some profound questions about the nature of evil.
Yeah.
And the challenges we face in a world where darkness can lurk beneath the surface of everyday life.
Absolutely. As we move into the final part of our deep dive, I think it's essential to delve into some of those broader implications.
I agree.
And the enduring questions this case raises.
Let's do it.
You know, this case really makes you think about that age-old question. Where does evil come from?
Yeah. Is it something we're born with, or is it something we learn?
It's a tough one. The Harrises seem so ordinary, so integrated into their community.
Right. Were they always hiding this darkness?
Yeah. Or did something happen that pushed them down this horrific path?
It's a question that haunts me.
It is. And that's what's so unsettling about King's writing. You know, he doesn't give us easy answers.
He doesn't.
He leaves us with this chilling ambiguity that forces us to really confront our own beliefs about good and evil.
It's true. So what do you think? Do you believe people are inherently good, or are we all capable of darkness?
I mean, it's something I've thought a lot about.
Me too.
And there's really no easy answer. But I keep coming back to the Harrises' obsession with youth and vitality.
Yeah, their belief that consuming human flesh could somehow prevent aging and death.
Right. It's this grotesque distortion of a very human fear.
Absolutely. The fear of aging, the fear of death. These are universal anxieties.
They are, but the Harrises take it to this horrifying extreme.
Yeah.
Believing they can actually cheat death by consuming the life force of others.
It's a disturbing thought. It makes you wonder about the lengths people will go to when they're faced with their own mortality.
It does, and it's not just about physical decline either. Remember how Roddy Harris was struggling with memory loss and confusion?
I do. It's like he thought that by consuming brains, he could somehow sharpen his mental faculties.
Exactly. It speaks to another deep-seated fear, the fear of losing our minds, our identities.
Yeah.
You know, Harris's actions, as horrific as they are, stem from this primal desire to hold on to control, to preserve what they perceive as their essence. But in their twisted pursuit of life, they completely lose sight of what it means to truly be human.
Right. They cut themselves off from love, connection, compassion.
Exactly. The very things that give life meaning.
It's tragic. They traded their humanity for this diluted sense of immortality.
Yeah. And in contrast, you have Holly, faced with her own mortality in that basement cage. She never loses sight of her humanity.
She doesn't.
You know, she fights to survive, of course, but she also fights to protect others, to make sure the Harrises don't hurt anyone else.
She embodies a different kind of strength.
Yes, she does. The kind that comes from empathy and connection.
And she doesn't try to cheat death.
No.
She embraces life with all its complexities and challenges.
And even after enduring this horrific experience, she emerges with this renewed sense of purpose.
It's incredibly inspiring. Her story, as terrifying as it is, reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there's always hope.
Oh.
Always a reason to keep fighting for a better world.
And that brings us to the most important question of all. What does this all mean for you?
Yeah.
How do these events challenge your perception of normalcy and safety?
It's something we all need to think about.
What hidden darkness might lurk beneath the surface of everyday life? Think about it, Maybe you'll find yourself a little more attuned to the world around you.
Yeah.
More grateful for the connections you have. And a little more determined to shine a light into the shadows.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining me today for this deep dive into the world of Holly Gibney. It's been a truly fascinating and thought-provoking journey.
It has, and thank you for having me.